first evaluator will be speaking specific to the role play and how it relates to the problem. Jane will be evaluating specific to coming to a resolution at the end. And I will be evaluating specific to how Lori guided the role play into session.
Thank you, Madam Leader. Fellow Toastmasters, especially Lori, for your presentation today on extroverts. I'll call it extroverts versus introverts. Okay. It was really more of an introvert. Tell us about that. So like Susie said, my role is to look at the role play and how you discussed the problem, and then how you actually led that to explore the problem. Now, one of the things I thought you did best in your presentation today was the role play and how you set that up. And you saw me talk to you at the beginning of the meeting. It's like, oh gosh, you're going to pick Robbie and Catherine. They know each other. Well, I thought that was very well orchestrated. You picked people that could follow what you had set up, and I thought it was very well done. So you had 3 role plays. I thought that part was excellent. A couple of things that I'm going to do in the rest of my evaluation is evaluate some ways that you might just, as a discussion leader, really direct what you want to have happen today, which was a discussion around introverts. Being an introvert and having everybody learn about introverts, that was what I thought. That's what it seemed to me. So one suggestion I'll start with is at the very beginning. I would like to have you, at the very beginning, start a little bit stronger. And that might take some practice. And what I mean by stronger is define the problem, define what we're going to do. You started asking us questions, which I thought, oh gosh, we're going to get to the problem eventually. But it might have been a way just to kind of get us all relaxed in hearing. But as an audience member, I just want to know where we're going. What's my role here today? And just a little bit more strength. And that would have been a really great place to state the problem. And what I think the problem was, and what I sensed the problem was, is you as an introvert, you wanted us, the group, extroverts and introverts, to learn about how to work better with introverts. And so you might just figure out a way to really state that and then be inclusive of everybody in the audience. Because even though we're extroverts or introverts, we still have something that we want to solve here. And so that's what I would like to see. So you had a great role play that actually set that up really nicely. The discussion went a lot of different directions today. Did you notice? Yes. And we did get to the problem, I believe, and I actually put that in my notes here. For me personally, the discussion was really good. However, it was pretty there were a lot of generalizations made about extroverts versus introverts that I don't necessarily think are true. And so I want to make sure that you cite sources and things like that. Extroverts and introverts get their energy from different places, but we all have compassion. We all have all the different pieces. So I want to make sure that we're really solving the right problem, and that might be just a little bit more, telling us a little bit more about what your sources are and where you get that information, and then directing the discussion the way you want it to go. You know, tell me, extroverts, what do you think about this? And tell me, introverts, what do you think about this? And direct it a little bit more around the problem that you think might be out there. Because again, we all have those strengths, and some of us have weaknesses, but they aren't necessarily related to if we're extrovert or introvert. They might be where we get our energy and how we communicate that in our skill development. Excellent topic, very interesting, and I'm glad you brought it to us today. I'm guessing we're going to be talking about this for a long time.
Thank you, Lori. I enjoyed your speech very much, and I'm going to talk about how did the leader coordinate the discussion in arriving at a solution to the problem. So I liked how you started out. You asked him who's an introvert, and then each person got to explain, talk about how they feel as an introvert and why they're an introvert. I really liked that. And then how you talked about how our brains are different, introvert and extrovert. You explained that. The role play I really loved. That was really good. And how you allowed for discussion too. The discussion part for the group was really excellent, I thought, because it helped us to think more about the topic, introverts and extroverts, and to understand. Because sometimes I think extroverts, as an introvert personally, we can think when extroverts, this is just my opinion, when extroverts come strong on us, it's like, oh, we think they're trying to hurt us, and I have a sensitive spirit too. Sometimes introverts can take that as, oh, they're so, they're just so outspoken, they're so strong. And I think it helped today what you spoke about introverts, so that extroverts could really think about introverts and what they really think about and how sensitive sometimes introverts are. And that we could relate more, extroverts could relate more. And I like how you talked too about extroverts having that more energy, because it seems like they do have that more energy. And sometimes introverts, people don't want to listen to them too, like we talked about too. So I thought the discussion, it was a really good discussion, I thought, because everybody gave a lot of different views, but you handled it very well, because you could tell that you handled it with ease when you were answering the questions. You didn't get real nervous, or you didn't get uptight, and you didn't, say, you were just, you have such a, okay, so the next question was, as evaluator, call for discussion of points and suggestions for improvements. You have a very pleasant personality, and it shows when you stand up here. You seem very sincere because you have eye contact, and it shows that you really care. You had a very organized speech, and excellent questions to think about. I thought you led the discussion very well because you seemed at ease. I think for some suggestions, at the beginning, when you were up here, your hands seemed to be like this, and you were using your hands. You were kind of nervous, I think, at the beginning, but then you relaxed more, and then you used your hands with your gestures with what you were speaking. You got more relaxed. For the books, it would have been nice if you would have maybe written them up on that white sheet, and then the author, so then we could have wrote them down too.
With my crayon.
Yeah, thank you. She was to think of me because of the sense and everything, and she brought crayons too, so thank you for being so sensitive. And your goal was to explain how extroverts can relate to introverts. I think extroverts don't take it as a, we're trying to put you, that you're bad or anything, because you're not. She was trying to, that was her goal, is to try and help you understand what introverts feel like and go through.
Lori, this is a very timely discussion for me, and because very literally at my school, we are, as a community in our school, focusing on, and we are calling it direct and indirect communication styles. And we are finding out, actually we identified, so I say that that's like, an indirect would be more like an introvert. And so in our school, we actually identified everybody through this process of a survey test. And now that I really know who the introverts are, I'm using those strategies of pause and really listening. And it's really powerful, and it makes communication easier, and it makes coming to a consensus easier too. So I really appreciate that you are also bringing this information out. I think that typically the majority seems to be considered as the norm. And we know there is no normal. So I think that the other voices have to be heard too, and acknowledged and respected as well. First thing that I am going to be evaluating you on is how the group was brought into an analysis of the actual role play. And what I noticed is you guided the group by asking somewhat general questions, not exactly specific to what your manual said, but just more general. And I believe you did this because you want to get into it and get into the discussion. Certainly you had an overview of all of the role play, but it seemed more like, did you see this? And then it would be yes. So it didn't seem as much as a discussion for that piece. So my suggestion for that would just be to make a little bit more time for that. Not too much though. Okay. My second evaluation piece will be on what did the leader do to encourage the players to discuss their own reactions to the situation. I think one of the most challenging things as a discussion facilitator is to create an environment of trust and calm so that people will be able to acknowledge something that's deep about them within a group, and you did that very well. You did that by using a very conversational tone. And then also you acknowledge each question or comment very respectfully without judgment. And that's a huge piece for a facilitator to be able to do that. And then you also responded with very clear, thoughtful examples. And in the response, you were teaching us more. So that was fantastic. The only suggestion would be is, actually, one thing that I noted about the role play was it would be cool if you had switched the roles so that it's like the extrovert can get empathy, introvert, empathy. That's it.
We're running out of time, but we need your reaction.
Oh, I just want to say thank you for everybody for participating. Only got to see 2 people I didn't hear from today, but I'll get you next time. And thank you for your evaluation. It's very insightful and very soothing. And I appreciate that as an introvert. So thank you, everybody. Look forward to you doing the same over there.
Do we have time for response?
Could I just make a comment? I know it's easy when you guys are sitting up there to rock and roll, but it's really distracting. And there's been a lot of rocking back and forth, especially when you're done. So maybe if you could stand and give that presentation, it might calm your nerves a little so you aren't rocking back and forth. And Lori, when you were presenting, you did a little leaning. on
I
the
know,
podium.
yeah.
Most of the
Thank you for
comments.
saying that. Look at different chairs. or whatever.
Hi, Catherine.
Susie.
Sorry.
Thank you, Susie. Lori, great and tough topic to talk about as a fellow introvert. Just echoing some of Pat's comments as you set up the information that you share with us. So you mentioned ambivert later in the speech. I think it'd be nice if you could bring that earlier. So, I'm going to talk today about how extroverts can interact with introverts, which is what you ended up saying when I asked the question I asked. So set that up earlier, but also mention, but I know there's another middle ground called ambivert. I'm not going to talk about that today, but I realize that's here. This is what I'm going to focus on.
And Nancy Okerman talks about that in her
Yes.
newsletter. So she's
Yeah.
already talked about that, but the other 2 haven't mentioned it yet.
Yes. So I figured I'd just make it easier for you, because you knew your focus, so like what Pat talked about, and just so we know you acknowledge what else is out there, then this is what I'm going to talk about today. So good job.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Lori, I appreciate so much, you're so genuine about this topic. I feel like it just resonates so deeply with you, and I think it would have been interesting to hear even more deep on the topic. What are those aspects of being an introvert that you think should be brought forward more in the workplace? And how can especially a manager appreciate that and show that to different people in the workplace and the coworkers?
That's it